right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I welcome everyone to our third and last session of the Principles of Successful Family Relationship. My name is Vicky Benzvi, and I am talking to you from Jerusalem, Israel. So far, as I said already, today you can see in yellow, it is the last session of this 3 weeks Principles lecture series. So in the first week, we could see the importance of a vision of that ideal family. So we saw what is an ideal family, the importance of having a vision. And then the second week, which was last Thursday, we saw the roadmap. So we saw what is important to build, how to build it, and what kind of important aspects are in building this ideal family, which was one of them living for the sake of others, of course, listening, and especially one quote that for me felt like summarized the whole lecture was love is not what you expect to get, but what you are willing to give. And this is kind of a summary from what I got last week. And this week, we will go even deeper into this with the topic of living a life centered on true love and the meaning and value of the blessing. So I believe it is time to start with our first talk of today. So it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Josef Gundacker, our speaker for this lecture series. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you and good evening. Here from Vienna, we had a very beautiful day. And for today, I chose a very interesting topic and also, I think, a very challenging topic. But I will start to share my screen. Wait a minute. I hope you see the screen is okay. Fine, yeah. So, yeah, as I said, my topic today is called Peace Starts With Me. And I will start with a quote from a writer and human rights activist whom I hold in high esteem. He was a dissident during the communist era and initiator of Charter 77. Later, he became the first president of the Czech Republic. This quote by Václav Havel is from a speech entitled "Destiny is Undivisible." Called "Each of us has in short the possibility to understand that even he, however insignificant and powerless, can change the world. But everyone must start with himself. If one waited for the other, all would wait in vain. It is not true that this cannot be done. The power over oneself, however problematized it may be in each of us by character, origin, degree of education and self-confidence, is the only thing that even the powerless of us has, and it is also at the same time the only thing that cannot be taken away from any of us. You might now think and ask me, how can I, in times like this, talk about peace starts with me? How can I change the world when there is war in a neighboring country? When we are in the middle of a pandemic when my employer kicked me out, when my wife is nagging me as soon as I wake up, when my children don't listen to me. And on top of that, when I myself have struggles in my heart, feeling weak, feeling insecure, feeling powerless and confused. And you talk about peace? Yes, I talk about peace because we have to understand the inner dynamic of peace and war. The point is that we often unconsciously kindle conflict within us and also around us. I said already in my first presentation about the vision of an ideal family. It is possible. And I repeat it now. Peace in me, in my family, in our nation and world is possible. I know it is. The question is, how can I find the peace of mind and heart in those circumstances? There seems to me a big challenge for most of us because we can't detach ourselves from the conflicts around us. The UNESCO preamble of 1945 states, since wars begin in the minds of man, and it is in the minds of man that the defense of peace must be constructed. It should correctly read, since wars begin in the minds of man, peace must be created in the minds of men. Because you can't defend peace where there is no peace of mind. I said in every lecture that we all think in images and act according to what we see, hear, and perceive. If we see in each other a brother or sister, we will also treat him, the brother, or her as brother or sister. If you see only a foreigner and stranger in the other, you will pay no attention to him. And if you see an enemy in the other person, you will keep a distance and defend yourself constantly and build up protective mechanisms. So we have to learn to perceive the other as our brother or sister. We have to learn to see the truthful, the beautiful, and the good in our world. We have to see with God's eyes and say, as Jacob did, for to see your face, it is like seeing the face of God. Two main questions arise. How can we find peace with the world out there and around us? And how can we find peace of mind and heart, the peace within us? Let me approach the first question. We are often so overwhelmed by the problems in the world. The fear of many people is to have little money, to lose their job, their house, their health, their life. The fear of war, of conflict, of poverty and hunger accompanies us constantly. In fact, the 17 UN Development Goals deal with poverty, hunger, health, education, equality, economy, and climate change, to name some of them. And I'm sure you ask yourself from time to time, what can I contribute to the achievement of these goals? And you think maybe actually not so much. I would like to introduce you to a very practical method that I learned from Stephen Covey. This helped me to deal with many questions in my life and to focus on the important questions and issues. Think about a big circle. This is the area of interest. In it, there are all things that you are interested in, that you worry about, that you are concerned about, beginning from world events, politics, economy, society. But remember, you have no influence over them. The second is the sphere of influence. This concerns your surrounding, your family, your relatives, your work, your nation. This is the area of your interest you're concerned about, you worry about, and you have also influence, but only limited control. The third sphere is the sphere of control. These are all things that we can decide and we have control over. This includes things in our daily life, starting from getting up, having breakfast, to traveling, job. And this includes also very importantly our mind. Which paper we read in the morning, which music I listen to, which person I want to meet. We choose which thoughts we introduce, and we choose also our attitude. Remember from last time the three primal laws of love. It is our choice. It is my choice to love and accept the other, or reject and resent the other. It is my choice if I try to understand the other or judge the other. And it is my choice to support the other or ignore and manipulate the other. That means to make a difference in our lives and the lives of others, we need to use our abilities, and we need to focus on the things in our lives where we can really make a difference. Many people try to change the world without changing themselves. They are politically active, go to demonstrations, raise the voice in public, write critical statements, and when they meet someone, complain about their misfortune and the bad weather. But this does not work. This doesn't mean, however, that from now on, you should only focus on yourself and stay away from public activities and meet nobody anymore. Quite the opposite. In my experience, it makes a big difference in meeting people if I have an open and loving attitude, or if I complain in being negative. Furthermore, it is a high art to speak out in public while not putting down the person to whom the criticism is directed. It is one thing to point to the evils of this world and criticize others, criticize ideologies, blame politics, and complain about unfavorable circumstances. And it is quite another thing to offer solutions for the problems. That means we have to learn to live more consciously. So I suggest, and that helped me very much personally, to listen to our language. Do you say sometimes things like, the boss is to blame, or the partner, or politics, or the circumstances are to blame? Or do you say sometimes, my life is determined by others. I can't do what I want. I have no control over my life. Or you think I'm not responsible. Or do you think and talk negative about the others? For example, yeah, he's a bit stupid. Or he's lazy. Or he will never understand. Such a reactive language and negative thinking are therefore a serious problem, because your thoughts become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Those people are confirmed in their paradigm that they don't have control over their lives. And those produce an evidence to support this notion. I know people, they always feel like victims who have no control over their lives and destinies. And they always blame others and circumstances for the situation. The second thing is to reflect on our feelings and also motives. Do you feel sometimes angry? Or upset? Or resentful? And how long? But do you carry a grudge? If you hold on to those feelings, you are emotionally trapped in yourself. So please let those feelings go. Now, let's turn from the peace of the world to the peace of mind and heart. Many people are often so overwhelmed with their personal problems and inner struggles that they feel paralyzed and don't know where to start and how to build a relationship. People are often afraid of loneliness, afraid of failure, afraid of suffering and pain, afraid of losses. Even though we are inspired by the ideals and the examples of love, and some of us are moved to imitate the lives of those great historic figures, we quickly find that love may be the most ideal which everybody hopes and prays for, but it is rarely found and far out of reach. We often find challenges to the realization of love within us. Because when we look within, we feel, I don't have very much to give. We feel small, insecure, inadequate, fragile, weak, alone, and empty. So we turn away from the stress of relationships because of the pain of relating. Many people try to pump themselves up without the trappings of love. Some invest all their time and energy in their job and become workaholics. Others try to find their fortune in gambling or spend their time with partying. And others try narcotics, addictive drugs, recreational drugs, or illegal drugs to relieve their pain and fill their inner void. And only to find out that those things don't love. If we are to relate, if we are to love, then we must give a part of ourselves to the other. But if we are not grounded in anything larger, we then fear we don't have very much to give. In order to change actively something in our lives, we have not only to develop our abilities, our talents and skills, but we have also to confront our shortcomings and deficits. We have to overcome the obstacles to love and learn, like a great work of art, to build true, beautiful, and good relationships through a consistent, purposeful, and virtuous actions. And most importantly, as human beings, we need to be connected to something greater and more trustworthy than our ego. As you remember, I was talking about our spiritual intelligence. We need to connect with our own soul, connect with others, with the worlds of history and nature, with the undivisible winds of spirit, with the mystery of love. About this point, I will talk later more. But for now, and to conclude this lecture, it is time for me to answer the 3 questions of the homework I gave you last time. These questions are actually based on the story from Leo Tolstoy. The king decided to turn to a hermit. And to get a satisfactory answer to his questions, when he came to the hermit's house, he said, "Wise hermit, I have come to ask you to answer 3 questions. I wish to know from thee what time to choose for each enterprise. Which people seem the most important one should deal with? Which business is the most important and must be undertaken first?" The hermit listened to the king, but he did not answer him, but spat into his hands and began again to dig up the earth. "You are overtired," said the king. "Pass me the spade. I will now work for you." An hour passed, and then a second. The sun was already disappearing behind the trees, so the king stuck the spade into the earth and said, "Wise man, I have come to you for answers to my questions. If you cannot answer them, tell me, and I will go back home." "Look, someone is coming running," said the hermit. "We will see who it is." The king turned and saw a bearded man come running out of the forest. Blood was oozing from under his hands, and he collapsed. The king, with the help of the hermit, opened the man's clothes, washed the wound as far as he could, bandaged it, and brought fresh water. In the meantime, the sun had set and it had become cool. The king, with the help of the hermit, carried the wounded man into the hermitage and they laid him on the bed. The king had become so tired from the care of the wounded man that he lay down on the threshold of the hermitage and sank into such a deep sleep. When he woke up in the morning, he could not remember for a long time where he was and who this strange, bearded man was who lay on the bed and looked at him penetrantly with his shining eyes. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice, when he noticed that the king had awakened and was looking at him. You don't know me, but I know you. I'm your enemy, who had sworn to take revenge on you for executing my brother and robbing me of my wealth. I knew that you were alone on your way to the hermit and decided to kill you on your way back. But you did not return. I left my hiding place to find out where you had gone and came across your bodyguard who inflicted the wound. I managed to escape and would have bled to death if you had not bandaged my wounds. I wanted to kill you, and you saved my life. If I should live, I will be your most faithful servant, if you will. I will serve you and command my sons to do the same. Forgive me. The king not only forgave him, but promised to return his fortune and also send him his physician and servants. Then the king questioned the hermit the last time before leaving, and the hermit replied, "You have received the answers to your question." "In what way?" asked the king. "Most certainly. If you had not felt pity for my weakness yesterday and had not dug up the beds instead of me, you would have gone back alone to your bodyguard, and this person would have attacked you. The right moment had come for you when you took my place in digging up the beds. And I was the most important person for you at that moment. And your most important deed at that moment was to do good for me. And when he came running to us, it was just the right time to bandage his wound. If you had not bandaged his wound, he would have died without having reconciled with you. So, at that moment, he was the most important person for you. And what you did for him was the most important business you had at the time. So remember then that the most important moment is always the present moment. And the most important person is always the one with whom you are dealing at that moment. But the most important action is always to do good. And man is given life for that reason alone. With this story, I will end this presentation. In the next presentation, I will talk about why and how to connect to something greater and more trustworthy than our ego, and also about the meaning and value of the blessing. Thank you for now.